Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm super pumped to be here, and I was thinking, like, the last hour I'm usually drained, and I don't want to show up, so thanks for coming. And I told a bunch of people earlier today, and they asked me where I was speaking, that I was in Toronto too, so hopefully if you wanted to be here, you showed up. It's like a trick. So I'm going to talk to you about Pony Friday, my life transitioning from being an agency creative to my own startup and how that happened, and also just about priorities and how you work and what you should be doing. And we created this graphic special for FITC. I've also been hearing people call it FITC, which is super cool. And it's about stepping into the light. And I think that behaving boldly is about stepping into light, stepping into the unknown. And look at me, I want to join the Wi-Fi. So stepping into the unknown and doing things that you haven't done before without fear. So it doesn't have to be scary, it just feels scary. It doesn't have to feel like you're going to be abducted by aliens. Maybe you might. When I'm on stage here, I feel like I'm being abducted by aliens. And I think that just has to do with the fact that this isn't my normal comfort zone. Like, I was really good at making stuff that other people would showcase. I started off my career as an art director, and then I became a copywriter, and then I was creative director, and now I'm running my own show. But you're always behind the scenes. You're making stuff that puts other people's brands out there, and you're not doing it for yourself. And so I want to talk about behaving boldly as a creative and how that happened. This is an Eliseism, and I felt like it was really important to share because this is how it all started for me. I was at an agency at the time, and I was called on by someone else to do some freelance, which I never did because I just didn't have the bandwidth to fit it in. And they were propping me up. They're like, oh, you're so creative, you're so awarded, and it would be so great to have you work on this project. And I was feeling pretty pumped. I might do it for the first time, work on a side hustle at the agency. And then they wanted to pay me some putsy little rate just on this first project. And this is what I said to them. And you could maybe say no in a politer fashion, but I didn't. I don't know if I recommend that behavior, but it's important to live your truth. And however you need to do that is very important. And for me, sometimes it's just being a little bit more blunt. So this whole presentation is about Pony Friday. It's about my life with Pony Friday and how it's changed. It's not about my life. So we're not going to get overly personal. So this is my tip. So when I did Pony Friday, we'll just go back to it for a second. I was at an agency, summer of 2012, and I wanted to go and ride my horse. My girlfriend in oil and gas had every Friday off, and she rode her horse, and I took every Friday off, and annoyingly to her, I called it Pony Friday because it was the most fun possible. And I kept that as my agency name when I quit because everyone loves ponies, and everyone wants it to be Fridays, so together it's the most amazing thing possible. And it's a reminder to me every day that that's my goal. My goal isn't to make tons of money. Yes, I want to make tons of money, but that's not my primary goal. My primary goal is to have the life that I want to have as a creative instead of feeling like I'm under someone's thumb, doing work for other people and making their lives better, growing their brands. I wanted to grow my own brand, but I didn't have a plan. I just quit. I'm like, I've had enough of this agency thing, and I couldn't figure out where I fit in. So I've been to so many presentations where everyone's telling you, do a little hustle on the side, grow your passion on the side, and I just want to put a seed out there that says, what if you just quit? What if you quit and put yourself in a pressure cooker that said, I had to make it happen. I had to make sure that I didn't fail. So I just want to plant that seed and say, what is the other alternative to just hustling on the side with your passion? I show this picture because this is me in 2012. At the time, I had the black dog. His name's Turbo. And I just quit my job, and I had a horse, I had a mortgage, and I decided to adopt a puppy because my life wasn't crazy enough. And I was working from home, and I just wanted to point this out because everybody has an excuse as to why they can't make it happen. They have a mortgage, they have kids, they have all of these expenses. I was single, I had 2 dogs, a horse, and a mortgage. I made it work. And this statement is super true. Like, as creatives, we're put in pressure cookers all the time. We're told that the client has a tiny budget. We're told that the deadline has been moved up. We spend a couple weeks or even shorter on a project we're super proud of. We go to present it. All of a sudden, the whole mandatories have shifted, and what we need to do is shifted. We have less time, we have less money, and still we come up with ideas that help that product. Sometimes they win awards, sometimes the client's bottom line goes through the roof. And we forget that we can do that for ourselves because we just think that we're a cog in a machine and we're doing a really great job. But what if we applied that same magic and put that creativity into our lives? And that's what I did. These 2 are my reminders of that pressure all the time because they need to be fed. So when I feel stressed, I go buy a lot of dog food. And then I'm like, okay, you guys are good. But I work from home so that I can have the life that I want to live even as I'm growing. I'm having the lifestyle that I want. And these guys remind me not to take life so seriously. This is Pony Friday now, so we're turned 5 in July. So the first 2 years was basically me doing creative hired gun for some agencies across Canada, taking up projects, helping fill in creative gaps for agencies. But I wasn't able to showcase that work to anybody to get more jobs, which is how the shop started. So it's the ultimate case study. I just made my own brand so that I could showcase what I could do for my clients, and it gives me a lot of passion towards startups, and I have a different perspective and understanding of what it takes to have a baby brand and take it up, and all of the social media pains, all of the growth pains, all of the sourcing and manufacturing pains that having worked on huge brands with large budgets and we're 30 years old didn't give me. So for 2 years, that's what I did, just the whole like agency hired gun, and then I started the Pony Friday shop to add to the depth, and the Tux is new. I just did my first one in the fall of 2016, so it's pretty thank you. It was just me for a long time, and now this is kind of the company. I've got about 5 people that help me regularly and a bunch on the side, and I want to tell you, I didn't find any of those people. They found me. So the first designer that I met, I was super keen. I really liked her, and so I sent her on all these interviews because I had a ton of industry contacts. I was like, you need to interview with this person and talk about getting a job with this. And she wasn't getting the position, and I thought to myself, oh, wait a second, like, I think you're great. Maybe you should just work with me. But it hadn't occurred to me before that point that I should have somebody helping me, that I should let somebody else help me. And she's the turning point from seeing it as me plus freelancing with other people to growing that. So she's been with me 2 years as of April 1st. After I hired her, about 8 months later, I got her friend working for me, and it just kind of snowballed from there. People would just show up in my life, and they were really passionate about what I was doing, and I just allowed them to help. And that's the thing, is the first time I spoke to share the story of Pony Friday was because one of them told me I needed to share. And if you don't let other people help you and push you, you won't get anywhere. And I think it's super important to just keep pushing yourself and allowing the kind of tide to take you. This will kill you. So me not getting up on stage and not sharing my story and not starting a shop, it would never happen. So my point of being here with you guys is just to water the seeds. If you have a thought in your head of what you could do, then let it grow. Like, feed that. fertilize it. Like, what else could it be? So I want you to just think for a second about what you're doing that's keeping you inside your comfort zone versus what you could be doing to get outside of it. Because this is your comfort zone. It's tiny. And it gets tinier and tinier all the time because the world changes. And I know as creatives, we're good at stepping out of our comfort zones a little bit. But I find that everything awesome is outside of my comfort zone. And this is what my comfort zone feels like. It feels like Fort Knox, like it's got like a razor wire fence around it. And as soon as I step out of my comfort zone, I feel a rush of anxiety because I want to like shrink back into it. But if I just stayed outside of my comfort zone, I would be where everything awesome is. Most people are good at this part, but they forget that as soon as you get to where everything awesome is, everything even more awesome is outside of that. So you've created a new comfort zone. You have to keep walking the walk. So change something. I've been to so many conferences where they tell you to take a different route to work if you're biking, if you're walking, if you're driving. You know, try something new. Try a new dish. Try eating something new. Shop at a different store. I want you to do something more drastic that forces you to see things differently. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to move to a new city. Like, that could be great. You should do that if you want to. But it could be something. So for me, I cut my hair. I cut bangs. It was like really drastic for me at the time. I had a meltdown. Anyone who's attached to their hair gets this. So this was me in the spring of 2015, and I cut bangs. I had an anxiety attack at the hairdresser. And then I did this in the fall. I just buzzed the back. So I had to convince my hairdresser for 45 minutes that I wasn't going to have a meltdown. But I didn't even recognize myself. My whole life I'd had long hair. And so for the first month, I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. And that's the kind of change that helps you, like to see something differently. I mean, a haircut's super, super simple. It grows back. I had a beautiful mullet about 6 months ago. But what could you do today that would change something, that would help you see something just a little bit differently? And that's the step, like one step after another. I love this quote by Mark Twain. It's the 2 most important days of your life. You're probably very familiar with this, but this is a very impactful moment in my life, my 2 most important days. So let's talk about that. The day you're born. So we'll have to go back to 1978. I'm 38. I always wonder how old speakers are. So 38 years old. 18 months to 40. I have a lot to get done before then. I lived in a small town. Well, I was about to live in a small town. And my parents lived 4 blocks from the hospital. They had this cute little green pickup truck, and baby didn't make it. So I like to do everything in a rush. And it's a trend, you know. I'm going places. It's my going places shirt, Pony Friday. And the second most important day of your life is when you find out why. And for me, that was only 3 years ago when I met the one. I'm going to get corny here. I was actually coming home from Boston. I had been to How Design 2014, so 3 years ago, right about now, and I was with my friend. I didn't want to go to the conference, but I'd gone because I'm like, I'll probably learn something. And on the flight home, I met this cutie. So this is important to me because I have always struggled with people telling me that, oh, you'll just know the one when it arrives. You'll just know it. You'll just get that feeling. And people get it with babies. They get it with a spouse. And I've never had it. And that drove me crazy. But when you know, you know. And I get that. But I need to tell you that it can be an idea. You can be really, really passionate about something. And you can feel that it's a partnership and that you're in it with them. And it's growing. And it's something bigger than you. And you need to support it. And you need to compromise because of that other half of yourself. But for me, it's not a person. It's an idea. So this is one of the early sketches of Pony. I couldn't locate the very first. I'm still looking for it. And this is what he looks like today. And he has inspired me and pushed me to do so many things that were outside of my comfort zone because people see him and people connect with him, and the idea of him is so much bigger than I ever imagined that it could be. And it's growing, and when people connect with it, they get so excited. And I am just the curator for the brand, which is really fun. So this is my real horse, just in case you were wondering. I could do an entire presentation on him called Tall, Dark, and Handsome, my asshole boyfriend. This is another important point. Trust your gut. There's something missing, though. It's have the guts to do it. Because so many people have a thought, they have an idea, and they want to do it. And then they think of all the reasons why they can't do it. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have, who knows what they don't have. But I read something on Instagram a couple weeks ago, and you've probably heard it before, but it really sank into me recently. It said, I don't have time. And then below it, it said, try rephrasing that and saying it's not a priority and see how that feels. And it's true. You know, we make time for the things that we care about. So figure out what you care about and make time for it. So I want you to eliminate what's holding you back, because I really believe that if every creative person in here and all the people who are like teetering on identifying as creative or not, put their passion into what they truly cared about, the world would be a better place, and it would be a heck of a lot more interesting. So I'd love to see that. I want to see what you're creating. And embrace discomfort. I live in a state of discomfort, and I think it's super important to be able to continually push your level of discomfort so you're growing. I mean, we expect that of children, but we forget to do that of ourselves. This is a good thought that we all have, but I'm thinking about fear and failure. There's lots of great F words, but I want you to think about having faith in your fabulous future, because the possibilities are so amazing, and we're barely scratching the surface. So we've all kind of heard of the popularization of the 10,000 hours with Malcolm Gladwell. I don't want to talk about whether or not that's true. I know there's been lots of studies about whether or not that's a fact, how much talent you actually have, but time is important. What you do with your time is important. So let's spend a little bit of time on my time donut. We have each about 8,760 hours a year, and what we do with it is super important. And this just goes back to my point about maybe entertaining the idea of not just having a side hustle, but quitting your day job and then having a side hustle to pay for your new day job. So if you sleep, seven and a half hours a night is like 2,738 hours of sleeping a year. So that eats your time. Currently, if you're working like 40 hours a week, most weeks, because if we times it by 52 weeks, some weeks you work more, some weeks you don't work at all. And then all of a sudden you're doing chores and you think, holy, I do not do 730 hours of chores in a year. Yeah, you do. You brush your teeth, you shower, you go to the grocery store, I don't know what you do. I don't know, you get your hair done, you get your manicure, pedicure, like those are chores. And then commuting, holy, I no longer commute, I work from home, but you commute. Whether you walk, whether you bike, whether you drive, you're commuting. And fun stuff. So this is what I think of as vacation time, playing soccer, climbing, shopping. Some people are shoppers. And then how about online? I've probably underestimated how much time you spend online. If you think about Netflix and choosing an Instagram filter, takes a while. Or maybe Facebook Live, you're probably doing a lot of that. And so really you have 800 hours that you're doing your side hustle. Like if that 10,000 hours is true, it's taking you over 10 years to get where you want to go, which is really just depressing. So I wanted to tell you what I do with my year kind of like as a basic. First of all, I sleep a lot more. So I sleep about 9 hours a night so that I can be chipper, because if I'm not chipper, I'm kind of like a dragon, and nobody likes that. And then I spend a lot of time on my animals. So I'm spending like 8 hours a week on my horse, 8 hours a week on my dogs, which kind of like replenishes me. And so if you think about my chores, I have a lot of like picking up dog poop, taking them to the vet, super fun stuff. I do grocery delivery, so I eliminate that time. And then I spend a lot of time on my craft. Like, I believe that my work and my life are so intertwined that it's all at the same time. So I don't work 9 to 5. I might get up at 6:30 in the morning with my dogs and then feed them and go straight to my office and work for a few hours. And then I might walk them and might do something else. And then I might be working late at night right before bed, sending off emails to people so that they can get them in the morning while I'm doing something else. And then they don't expect a response till later. But I have created a balance and structure for me that fits my creativity and when I am most functional. Because to me, working from 9 to 5 was never that good. I couldn't be creative when they needed me to be creative. And although I was successful, I wasn't successful by my definition. I was successful by society's definition of what success looks like. So focusing on what you love, you have to make that a priority. What's important to you? Because it doesn't matter what's important to your neighbor or your boss. It matters what's important to you and what you're making time for. This is my favorite. It's too hard. And I want to tell you, it's too fucking hard. It is. I'm not going to lie. It's super hard. And I would sit in my corner in my office and cry if I had time. But I don't have time. And I love what I do, so that makes it worth it. But going off on your own and doing something is never going to be easy. If you think it's going to be easy, you're going to fail. Oh, yeah, it's good. So I want to explain something really funny. This nice laptop that's decked out in FITC stuff with Pony Friday stickers is not mine. It belongs to my friend who came with me who's working the pop-up shop, because my computer sounds like this. It's got the fan going, and it passes out occasionally with a dark screen because it overheats. And I don't want to get a new one yet because I'm using that money to buy more socks. So might want my inventory. So that's priorities. So I can still function. I have like a big desktop at home, but my laptop needs to be replaced. But I'm choosing all of the time where my resources. Yeah, I could put that money towards that, but then I'm stopping the growth of my business. And to me, I'm like, I'll just borrow a laptop, no big deal. Nobody cares. And that's okay. You just have to figure out where your priorities are. So it's about climbing mountains, and for me, it was a big mountain. You don't know where the top is. This mountain is my sock mountain. Finding socks was so hard. I always wanted my own socks, and I finally found a manufacturer that would do it. The first one was in Canada. I was really excited. I paid for prototypes, and they got back, and they were awful. So awful. I was embarrassed to even show anyone that I had ordered the prototypes. Afterwards, I was like, that's okay. We'll find a new manufacturer. So I called a bunch of places. I don't have money, so nobody wants to talk to me. I don't have a big company name that's recognizable. They don't want to talk to me. They want to see my financial statements to make sure I can pay my bills. Don't really have a good-looking financial statement, so didn't send that. And so then I found a company who wanted $1,000 for sock prototypes. The previous company was like $250, and I thought that was steep at the time. But $1,000, I wrapped my head around it. I'm like, okay, we can do this. Sent them $1,000. 2 months later, they just sent that $1,000 back and said, we don't have time. I was like so stressed out because I really want these socks. And we had spent like 6 months designing socks, and we picked the ones that we wanted prototypes of, and we were super excited. And all of a sudden, we have nobody. So I decided, like, this is okay. This is not unsurmountable, one foot in front of the other. I just kept calling. I kept calling people, cold calling, and I finally got this guy. And he, of course, asked me if I had money. I said no. And he laughed at me. And then I sent him my designs. And I think that's what sold him. Because it's like, oh, these people really spent some time on these. So he agreed to get prototypes. I didn't even have to pay. I was like, okay, so this is a good deal. So he got some prototypes for me. And we have socks through them. They're amazing. I was really relieved. He has told me since that we are very fussy. And I think that's okay because they're nice socks. And I'm proud of them. But he has since told me that he is my Simon Cowell because he is an asshole. But he is very helpful. So this is my secret. Put your shit first. All of the time. I tell this to my clients' face because I still do marketing. And I put my stuff first because I will stay up all night to meet a client deadline, but I will not stay up all night to work on sock designs because I'm forgiving. I'm like, it's okay, Elise, you can do that tomorrow. But if I did it first and then I have to do my client's stuff, my client's not going to be happy if I don't finish. So I put it first, and I recommend this policy because you will never make progress on your own passionate pursuits if you don't do it. You have to put yourself first. And your passion, anything that you want to do. Like if I want to work out because I'm trying to get more fit, if I want to do that, I put that first, do the client stuff afterwards because I will feel better. I'm happier. Everybody gets better work if I am good. So it doesn't go over well. It doesn't make you popular when you tell that to your clients. But I recently had a client who took a new job and then became just more of a colleague. And I had coffee with her, and she's trying to do a business. And she told me, Elise, we're spending one day a month on this project. And I laughed at her, and I said, that's never going to happen. You're never going to get where you want to go but a day a month. So I told her, I said, my secret is, even when I was working on your stuff, and she was super happy with what I was doing for her. Like, I always do my stuff first. Pony Friday always comes first. And I told her, that's what you should be doing for yourself. So let's talk about winning, because I love winning more than anyone. So I don't know if any of you participated in the National Advertising Challenge. I did because I like to win. And I even got it done by the first deadline, so that's good. But I was coming here. I didn't have time to do it tonight for the new deadline. But I have won some pretty decent awards, and I have to say I've never felt so elated and so shitty at the same time because it's like you're never as good as you're only as good as your last award. That's what they tell you. And this is why, because you're comparing yourself to other people all of the time. And it sucks. I hate it. I hated it. I mean, I love winning, but I still think that it's important to have your own comparison. Like this. Guess what? I walk around in my own socks. Like, I have my own socks. This is so awesome. I'm winning in my own way. And when I got that order of socks, because when I finally got it, I'd waited so long. It was like not in time for several pop-ups we had lined up just to sell socks. We got them in September of last year, our first batch. And when I got them in, my friends were like, you sure have a lot of socks to sell. And I said, no. I just have a fresh pair every day for the next 9 years. So define your success. Like, what does it mean to you? To me, I'm finally building my success. Like, it feels super good, but every day I'm building on that. If I just stayed where I am right now, that's only enough for today. That's only enough for this week. As soon as May arrives, like, this is no longer exciting. This is no longer pushing my boundaries because I've already done it. So what does it look like for you? Everybody has something different. Everybody has different needs. Everyone has a different balance of creativity, family, and fun, and I think that you need to know what that is. And for me, it's very much life-life balance. Like, forget about the idea of work-life balance. Your work is your life. It's such a huge, huge portion. It's the same thing. And so as soon as you stop thinking like, oh, I leave work at work, because none of us do, we are always like thinking, it's always churning, we're always on, then we have a different perspective of that. Start before you're ready. This is a great quote, but I'd like to edit it just a little bit because that's what us writers do. You're ready. You know, think about everything that you've done up to this point. Think about all of the things that you've achieved. Everything has put you in a position to be ready. All the things that you're doing for your clients, all the stuff that you did in school, all of the terrible things that you've done have put you in a position to be ready. So I would like you to behave boldly. And I'm going to tell you a little story that happened to me yesterday. So I'm busy right now in my life. I'm full bandwidth, and I had a conference in Vegas before I came. So I flew from Calgary to Vegas and then up to Toronto. And I was tired when I got off the red eye from Vegas to Toronto on Saturday morning, and I was super bold. I'm behaving boldly. I know what I'm doing. It's no big deal. I have a Nexus card. I go through like the Nexus check-in, scan my little card at immigration, let the thing take my picture, take my card, walk off. I don't answer any of those questions that ask me if I've been at a farm, if any of that. I don't wait for the little printout. But I look so darn confident that I walk right out of immigration. Nobody questions me. I grab my suitcase off the carousel, go up to the customs guy, and he's like, "Where's your paper?" I'm like, "What paper?" And I think that that's important. It wasn't a big deal. I just had to go way back upstairs to immigration and redo it all again. But it's like I fail like that all the time. And if you're forgiven by forgiving of your own behavior, it's not so bad at all. Like, this is the third time I've spoken in front of a group. My second was at High Five in North Carolina. And before I left, my friend said to me, "Hey, it's your second talk, and you're going to be an international speaker." And I was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." So I left there realizing that it didn't matter if that whole thing bombed, because I was still ticking that off the list. I was still going to be an international speaker, so who cares? And I think that you need to think that way, right? Like, walk around with your fly undone. Who cares? Someone's going to tell you. It's not a big deal. And I think that the more we allow ourselves to fail, the less impact that it has on us. And the more we allow each other to fail, the less impact that it has. And I think, when you were little, you knew how to behave boldly. We all did. I want to tell you a little story of me at 5. Maybe I was 4. It was Thanksgiving. All the relatives had gathered. It's a great occasion to take a picture. This is before cell phones. This was before, multiple shots. So my mom had got out the tripod with the camera. I had recently been to a birthday party where they gave out these gorgeous Kermit the Frog green caps out the little legs dangling on the side. And I knew this was the perfect moment for Kermit to shine. So I ran to my room, got Kermit, put it on my head. We had a large backyard. There was a whole family, large group, all standing in their nice fall colors, and for this shot over by the trees. And I remember being negotiated with. I don't know if you've ever tried to negotiate with a small child. You're never winning. And they were trying to convince me that maybe this wasn't the best time for Kermit to be in the picture. And I was not seeing their perspective, not seeing their point of view. I thought, you don't know what you're talking about. This is the perfect time for Kermit to be out. And I remember being chased around the yard and little legs flapping by my face as a family member tried to grab it off my head. And to this day, if you look through the family photo album, there's a kid with a big smile on her face because I'm wearing the Kermit hat and I won. And I think that is the kind of behavior that we have forgotten, that society has chipped off of us as we've gotten older, as we've been formed into, this is how you behave at school, this is how you behave in the workplace, this is how you behave in all sorts of different places, at the airport, this is what you do. But it's not detrimental. Like most things that we do, if we allow each other to stand out, if we encourage it, that's huge. And in that family photo, the most important person is my little sister, who's staring at me, looking at the example that I am setting. And I still play that role. I am still that sister who says, why not step into the light? Thank you.